through life-changing career changes and career experiences. With me today is Hengameh. I'm very happy to have her. And like she has a fascinating story on how she actually managed to navigate a very uncertain time and like find a job, find a career that she's really passionate about and that aligns with her value. It all started for her in 2015. But before we start with the story, I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's listening today. Thank you so much for being here. If you know somebody that could benefit from these videos where we talk about career change and we want to support people in finding their way through an uncertain time, please forward and share. Also, if you have a story to share, I would be more than happy to hear from you. So if you have a story that could inspire others to find their way through their career transition, through a life transition, feel free to reach out. With that, welcome, Hengameh.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
It's a pleasure. It's so great to have you. We have been talking a lot in the past, and you had a fascinating and very inspiring life story. And I know there's a lot we can talk about, but I actually want to talk about your period starting, or your time starting in 2015, when you moved from the US to Germany, like without having a job lined up or anything. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like and why you decided to do that?
Yeah, I got interested in the UX stuff, the user experience, and I actually reached out and an agency to see if they would like want me to work there for just volunteering because I knew I was going to learn. And there was a conference, the UX camp, which I volunteered for, which I got accepted. So basically, I created my opportunity and came here. It wasn't paid, but I worked there for about 2 months, and then I started looking for a job, which was in sales, which was my background.
And
So
yeah.
yeah.
And was like sales your passion, or was it just something that?
Actually, that was a good question. It wasn't. It was that's one of the reasons my career never took off in the US. It was it's a very competition environment, and it didn't suit my values. But I didn't know because I naturally, sales is not difficult. So I took a sales job, which yeah, that was good for a while. But then I ended up taking another role in sales and another. So basically, 3 different jobs in sales, and I pretty much had enough of it in 2018. I think I quit basically.
Okay, so you can only do this thing so often until you realize,
Yeah.
okay, this is not me.
Mhm.
How did that feel? Like, where were you, like, after you quit your third job?
Yeah, well, my grandmother got very ill, so I was going back and forth, and that was one of the reasons I quit too, because my family, Iranians, family is like, you just you drop everything and you go out, where family is and support them, and I traveled quite a bit in 2019, early 2019,
Right.
and yeah, so when I came back, I was actually ill a bit, and then COVID hit in 2020, and then that's when things started changing for me. Like my values, I started questioning them and trying to, I started reading a lot, and trying to experiment different things, reaching out on LinkedIn. That was because I was in sales. I was very savvy with LinkedIn, so I got some Iranian women from different parts of Europe together online. COVID just hit, so everyone needed the support and talking, and I just wanted to create something so women can support other women, and then one thing led to another. I
Can
met
I
so
stop you
many.
right there? Okay,
Yes,
let's stop you
sure.
right there, because this sounds way too nice of a story, right? I came back, I realized this is not what I want to do. Okay, then I realized I want to create like something where women support women. But like, can you tell us a little bit about how you felt being back there, like not having a job lined up, um, not knowing what's next? How did you experience that period of your life?
Well, the funny thing is that because my grandmother was passing away, and then after that I got ill, I had no time to think about other things besides just health. And, actually, I became well after this COVID. So when people were in panic state, I was actually thinking, oh, wow, I don't have to jump into work. I can actually take a rest and recuperate, because when you get ill, you really need time to heal. It's not one of those things you just jump back, and go back into work. It's just, you mentally you're drained, and especially with that type of work that I was doing that wasn't aligning with my values, with my grandmother being ill, when COVID hit, I was just happy that the world came to a still, honestly, because that gave me an opportunity for my creative juices to start flowing. And I met wonderful people through it. And
Yeah, and
that's
so you talk about values a lot, and prior to this interview, we talked about how your values shifted. At that point in the beginning of 2020, when COVID started, and we started 2020, yeah, we started first hearing about it in the news, and you were realizing, okay, there's some time. Were you already clear on what you valued and what you wanted, or where were you in your understanding in regards to your values?
So at that point, I signed up for a coaching course with Jay Shetty. And that's when I started understanding my values, because values were given to me. It wasn't something that I was, but then, internally you fight with yourself if your values don't align with it's your subconscious mind. And, so basically, through coaching, I learned that values get developed over time, and if you don't align with your values, then you become ill. Actually, you become sick. So mentally you're drained all the time because you're not following your value. You don't know them. So if you don't know, how can you?
Right. Right.
That
And
gives you
so
energy.
give us a little bit of understanding of what your values at the time looked like, the values that you had to live, or that you felt you had to live up to, due to your upbringing and the environment that you were born in. Can you name some of those?
Yeah, it was communication wasn't very good, actually. And Iranians are very emotional creatures, and so we were very emotional, and we have some, like, our anger and we have a lot of emotions up and down, but we don't know exactly where they're coming from. This is what I mean by subconscious, right? Because we're in reactive. But if you understand where they're coming from, then you become more of a calmer person, and you start thinking more in your conscious mind. And when you start thinking in your conscious level, then you actually start understanding your values and channeling your energy in those values. And this is what coaching really helped me with. And I don't see myself as a coach, but I went there and I got what I needed, and I'm still, applying it every day, and I see the world in a different way. I see it more like I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be part of communities where I can, share and connect. And, Moralis is, values.
Before we jump there, to your current job,
Right.
I want to rein you in a little bit, because like you said, feel free to do that if I'm going a little bit
Of
off
course.
script here. So you talked about this training with Jay Shetty, and that made you aware of what your values were, both the ones that you had subconsciously adapted over the years, and that might have drained you a little bit and led to a point where why am I living those? And also in terms of what are the values that I have, that I seek out or seek to actualize on in the world. Can you tell us a little bit what your values are that you came to realize at the end of that workshop?
You mean at Jay Shetty, or?
Yeah, your values basically as a result of that exploration.
Sure. So, through my jobs, there were things that were done in the communities that I didn't like. but I didn't know what they were until I understood about my values. So transparent, for example, there's a lot of politics that's involved in many companies. But if you bring in transparency, then you don't have politics anymore. So having experiences of the opposite of those values makes you aware how important these new values are, if that makes any sense. I think. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
Correctly, but basically, I've gone through a lot of pain, I guess, mentally, right? And that now I understand what's important for me, you know, and aligning them with the people. So you start surrounding yourself with the people who have similar values as you do, and you get inspired by them. And so you get excited being around them because you're learning from them, and it just keeps growing, and it's just a snowball effect, you know. And I didn't yeah, when you don't know your values, you know, everybody's nice, everybody's kind, but you sometimes are in your own bubble, and you don't know how to get out of that bubble because you don't really think, you just think this is the way it is. But life can be much more than that. You just have to know where to gravitate yourself towards, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think I want to come back to your story because where I interrupted you was in early 2020, you became, like, joining this community, you became aware of your values, and you had all that space, all that freedom. And you already mentioned before that, like, there was something about, like, other Iranians, other female Iranians that you had in mind you wanted to do. Can you tell us how that, what happened there?
Yeah, well, I basically I just reached out on LinkedIn and said, hey, I want to get 10 Iranians across Europe to join forces and see how we can help the Iranians back in Iran, because they have a lot of potential, and they can do so much, and we can support them from here. We're kind of on the outside, but we can help them in a way. We tried to get that going, but we didn't have we had a few meetings actually. Actually, some of them were impressed that we had a good, I think it was 3 or 4 months, or maybe even 5 months, but we would meet every other week. But we would share our journeys together, because it was the first time we met. So it was really nice. But then, somehow when I connected with Somi, and I was like, hey, you guys, she's starting this FemPeak, and let's, get on. And they didn't join because, COVID started becoming more relaxed and people started getting busy. And so I'm still in touch with them, but not as much as, back then. But they were the early ones, they were the starters, but, it's just interesting how.
So you had that group of people, you met a couple of times, and you mentioned, like, this one contact, Somi. And can you tell us a little bit more about that? What happened then?
Yeah, when I met Somi in the UK, she was already on this path of helping women all over the world. I was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to start this little thing, and she's just trying to do it for the whole entire world. I was like, yes, I'm definitely supporting you. So I started volunteering for her, because I was like, I can help you with some. And she gave me some things to do, but it's not like she could pay me. She's just starting something on her. She's doing it all on her own money. I mean, she also has investors, and but the thing is what really drove me is because it's her passion and she's very intelligent and very smart, and is really looking out for the woman, and really wants us to step up the game. She's like, the world is going too fast and we need to get on board. I mean, she's already telling us how we need to get into NFTs, Web3. It's just all this new technology. It's like, why are you guys afraid of technology? Just get back into technology. And when she said those things, I was like, yeah, sure. So I signed up for a 1-year course, at DCI, and I said, sure. I mean, if I'm going to try to convince other women to come on board, I got to start doing it myself. And I had a great time during this course. And,
So, and I think that's a very interesting story, because you started off by thinking, okay, I value all these things, and therefore I should do something about that and should create a community. So you started by bringing people together, and through that, you met Somi, who was already working on like her community, like a worldwide community, where you saw your values and your intentions reflected.
right.
And like through your engagement with her, you realize, okay, if I want to do this, well, I gotta walk the talk. So
Right.
I gotta educate myself and like put in the reps, right? And so
Right.
you joined DCI. So what does DCI stand for, and what did you learn there?
Sure, Digital Career Institute. It's online. Well, during COVID, it became online, and so they just taught us the whole Java, basically, the front end and the back end of software. So all the way from HTML, CSS, JavaScript to the database, the Node.js to MongoDB. So basically, just everything. It took about a year. But the owner calls it's a sandbox for us to play in and learn, because as a software engineer, you're not going to know everything. So just play around, just learn because it takes a while to understand, because I actually have my engineering degree back in like 95, and I left it. And so, I was actually doing QA, but that was in telecom, which was like, it was a totally different situation back then. So this is why I thought I have to go back in. Like, I have to go back and learn what's going on. Why did I leave back then? I don't regret it, but if I can do it, then anybody can do it. Any woman should be able to come into technology. They don't have to be a developer, but just looking at code, I think, is so important. And yeah, and Somi actually started doing it on her own. She was learning Python. Like, she was doing things that I was like shocked. Like, I was like, okay, well, if she's doing it, I can do it too. So, yeah.
Amazing. So you joined DCI, you got that whole education, which probably set you up to become a developer, like by the
Right.
sounds of it.
Right.
What happened after that? Like, did you want to become a developer, or what was your
Yeah,
takeaway from that?
absolutely. No. I definitely want to become a developer. I mean, the thing is because I was in QA, so when Somi would come up with a new site, I was always testing her site to make sure like everything is okay. And I would find stuff that were wrong, and I would send her, because I guess since I did it in the past, I became immune to it. Like, I just did it by default of some sort. And so in my final project, because I had learned a little bit about blockchain through Moralis, I decided to do my final project in educating my classmates on blockchain. And so my final project, the last, I think it was, they gave us 7 weeks to do, but I created a site with my team. I got 2 classmates to join my team, even though the teacher didn't teach us anything about blockchain. And our DCI teacher was, his response to me was like, I'll just help you. I'll just learn with you. So he didn't discourage us. He was, Nakabi was like fantastic to support us. And my 2 classmates were really excited too. So we said, we have 7 weeks, we have time to learn. And
So you did this project on blockchain, you graduated, I guess, there was maybe a ceremony
yes.
or something. And what happened after? Do you went on a job search, or how did you continue?
So basically, DCI supports us in finding jobs, but I already knew at that time with my final project that I wanted to work for Moralis, and because I understood, because they really listen to their community and they're very inviting, and they're global, and I saw the QA role. And I just applied immediately because I knew it was the right place for me, and when you finished your development, I mean, you still, it takes time to start exactly finding out your groove, where and I'm in my 50s. I'm already like ready to contribute and ready to learn and grow, and Moralis provides you that. I mean, they want you, they encourage you to learn, they encourage you to they're very supportive, they're very helpful. They believe in their people. And I think once you believe in your people, you can do amazing stuff. And this is exactly where I need to be, because I didn't know it existed. So I'm just really grateful every day, to be here.
And it's kind of an amazing journey how you found a place by finding yourself in a way. So
Right.
it started like when like, just to recap your story a little bit, it started out with you doing a coaching training, and what you took away from it is like, yes, I know what my values are, I know what I'm interested in. And then as a next step, you try to bring them into the world, assuming you had to create your own thing. But through that and through that engagement, you found the first place where a woman was actually doing what you wanted to do.
Right.
And you said like, okay, I'm going to support you. And through that, you learned that, well, in some aspects, you were living up to your values, but there were some missing links. So you decided to do, okay, I'm going to develop and develop myself and become a developer, right?
Right.
And then through that, you realized, hey, there are actually new options. And one of these options, Moralis, is actually like a representation of what I value. It's actually very close to all the things that I wanted to achieve, and they're expressing these values through their action, through their business, through their engagement with communities, how they work with each other, and how they kind of make this product happen.
Right.
And it's a beautiful story of wayfinding, and we had a session on wayfinding last week. But what I wonder is, what were your values, and how did you know that this was the right thing? Was there a moment where you realized this is like the firm, the company that I want to join?
Well, the thing is that because in the whole Web3 space, we need more women to come into it, right? And they have a group called Donas. And the Donas, we're less than 20 people. I mean, at Moralis, we're over 120, 30 people, company-wide, worldwide. But we're only 20. And I think we could definitely bring that to a higher level, but we need more women to start applying for these roles. And I've actually noticed that it's been increasing. We've had a lot of women actually applying and getting hired at Moralis. So I'm super excited. We're going to meet in Stockholm on June 6th to 9th. And so I'm really excited to meet everyone in person, because I think that, that collaboration, I think it's really important to meet people so that when we're off, when we're back in our home, we can communicate at a different level, I think. And so, yeah, I really want to strengthen the community, the Donas community, and hopefully maybe even discuss my own journey, in Stockholm. Why not? Open up a dialogue. And because the more dialogues that we can discuss, talk to each other, the more cohesiveness of community we can create, because we're only 100 and something. So we need the cohesiveness to be successful.
So Hengameh, if somebody out there is listening to this right now and thinks like, oh yeah, I would really love to join that community and like become part of it. And I always thought about becoming a developer, but maybe I'm not that comfortable with it. What would you tell them?
Well, at Moralis, we have an academy, so you can easily learn, become part of the community, and we have projects on weekends you can learn. So basically, Moralis actually invites people who are not developers to start building, because the future is going to be, building. They listen to their middleware, for the blockchain. So they're trying to make it easy for people to come up with creative ideas, to start just writing with one line of code. And so it's actually the best place if you're not a coder, and because they're going to be teaching you the basics, and they support all the different languages. So whether you already know certain language or not, you don't have to know. It's just that the academy is there, the community is there, once you become involved, believe me, Moralis will hire you because they see the value you're bringing, you know, but you have to invest the time. You can't like, you know, I think they hire mostly people from the community themselves because they're the ones who care and support.
Right. And probably, like you mentioned community so often, I assume it's one of your values. And
Yes.
like the way they engage, the way that you engage, it really like comes together nicely and beautifully.
Right.
Hengameh, thank you so much for sharing your story and for like showing us how beautiful that journey can be if you are actually become cognizant of what you value and you start engaging with people that are sharing similar values and that help you to find your place in the world, a place where you see your values reflected and you feel so passionate about this topic that I felt like, okay, the last 3 minutes, we gave a huge shout out to Moralis, your company. And I hope that people who listen like feel attracted by that if it resonates with their values and reach out to you or reach out to the company. We will definitely tag you as well as the company in the video below. With that, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.